Okay, welcome back to the Young Leading Leadership Edition, Business Leadership. Today we're going to be having Mr. Shago speak on challenging the norms. And one of the reasons why I decided to put this up was because of I believe there are so many things that we made norms when we're meant to actually go beyond them. But it's relative as an individual. So this is actually going to be opening your mind to see areas in your life where you need to actually cross, or you need to break free from, or either you need to break into. So we're going to be having Mr. Shagun joining us soon, and he will be speaking on challenging the norms. I met Mr. Shagun in Lorin, Nigeria State, and one of the things that made me really admire him, thanks very much Mr. Victor, one of the things that really made me speak to him was the fact that he was a young man, and at the same time he was challenging the norms. In Ilorin, in the northern side, let's say the northern side of Nigeria, for a young man like that to set up a sort of project where he's educating young people, and at the same time has young people that are working for him. It was very powerful for me, and I decided to actually have him here today. So I'll be sending him the link right now for him to join us, and we're going to start right away. Okay. Hey, thanks very much for joining. Thanks for joining. Okay, thanks for joining, Pal. So we're going to be waiting for Mr. Shagun to come right away, and then we will start. And boom, thanks for joining. So today we'll be talking about. You'll be speaking on challenging the norm. So if you have a question, you could put it through, send it on the comment section. And at the same time, you could as well send it to my DM, which I would get as well. So, one of the reasons why I put up this is because of the norms in our lives, things that have been made normal. So, some people, they feel like your brain cannot work beyond 5%. Some people feel like your brain cannot work beyond 6%. And some people feel like you can't do what people have failed to do. And I think that that's what we need to break free from. People telling us things we can actually become. And so I think it's very important. So why I decided to put the topic was because of I saw Mr. Shogun. When I saw him, was a very young man. Yes, when I mean a young man, like a young adult, and I was surprised seeing such a project he was managing. Coming up with a project where he's educating young people. I don't know, for me it was really, really powerful for me. So I told him that if I met him up, and I told him that if I could speak to him, and he agreed that okay, that we could have a live section. So waiting for him to join us now. Don't know, thank you very much for joining. So waiting for him to join us now, and I hope this will actually help us. Okay, now this topic it's not something to actually, it's relative, it's not universal. So what is this going to do is going to open up your mind to understand areas in our lives where we need to actually open up to see, and open up to actually understand that okay, this is a limiting mindset. Okay, so Mr. Shogun just joined in now, and okay, so I think we're good. So Mr. Shogun is here. Thanks very much, Donald, for joining. And okay, yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. It's good evening. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you
I'm doing
doing,
good.
sir?
I'm doing good. So we're going live now on. So going live on Mixer. Sorry, sir. We're going live now on.
All right.
So we're live. Okay, we're live now. Mix now. Thanks very much, everyone, for joining in. Mr. Shogun, let me just briefly give you an introduction. I met him first, and I don't know. I just met. I feel like this man owns this center. How did you do it? Pretty young, but normally there's a norms that say before you ever establish something that is very big, like you need to be around 40s, maybe around late 30s. And I felt, oh no, so I really need to actually speak to him about having him. And today he has joined us and he's speaking about challenges in jobs. Please, let's welcome Mr. Jobs.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Mr. Miracle. It's my pleasure to be here. It's really, really a great pleasure for me to be here. And thank you for having me. Thank you so very much. Thank you for being a man of great words. Like ever since I've met you, it's been a blessing. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I'm not taking this for granted. Trust me, I am not taking it for granted. And I welcome everybody that is currently online, everybody that have joined us, and I welcome you all to this platform. All pleasure is mine to be here to share some of my experiences with you guys and all. I'm not an island though, but then a lot. We've gone through a lot. And but we thank God for how far He has been helping us, for how far He has been helping us. Then concerning the subject matter that we have before us this evening, which says challenging the norm. Challenging the norm. I discovered a lot of people don't like to do things outside what they know. A lot of people like to be conventional. A lot of people in our community today are just not wanting to ask the questions why. Asking the question why is what makes you different from being a conventional person. But a lot of youth don't want to ask the questions why. They just want to be there. As long as they have something that gives them food, just for things that cater for their immediate need, and they don't care about whatever happens around their environment anymore. To me, I just feel if you want to challenge the norm, you have to do something different from what other people have been doing. And if you must do that, you must be ready to take risk. Risk is involved. If you must challenge the status quo, if you must challenge the way people have been doing things, then you have to take risk. Put a lot of things on the line. You have to put a lot of things on the line. And thank God for where we are today. But where you saw me the other time, you have been to my office, but where you saw...
I can hear you again. Okay.
That's how we started from. Wow. That was where we started from. That was not started from. I wish I could share with just where we started from. Not laugh. And say, wow. But we thank God for everything. We thank God for grace, for how far He has helped us, and how far He has been faithful to us. But then, if
it's like you're breaking. Since you're breaking.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the voice. I'm hearing your voice twice. Like I'm hearing my voice. Okay. This is better. Yes.
Okay. Yes. But before, and then when you saw me the other time, our current institute, the current property we are occupying for the institute is not where we started from. It's not where we started from. I remember when I took it upon myself, because the norm is that once you are a graduate in Nigeria, everybody wants to look for a job, look for something that will put something in their pocket at the end of the month. I have been there. By the grace of God. At least I had my first degree from Ahmadu Bello University in 2010. I studied biochemistry. So I've been there. So after then, I went on to search for a job, got a job in Lagos, in Ikeja. For those people that knows Tony Roundabout at Ikeja, I was working at Buffalo House at Ikeja back then. I was there with an international company for more than 2 years, and moving to Ibadan to join a French company, Gold Menders in Ibadan. For those that know Ibadan very well, I've worked with Gold Menders before as one of their client relationship manager. Before I now decided that okay, I want to proceed. I want to do my masters, and I went ahead, did my masters. When I relocated to Ilorin to do the masters, the job I was getting was ridiculous. As a graduate, you get jobs and they will offer you 20,000 naira per month, and then you wonder, what do I do with this money? How do I get to, how do I get to manage? Went ahead in 2015 to say, okay, I want to do a master's degree. Started a master's degree, had to leave a lot of things just because I want to do it. And thank God for one of my boss that
Okay, so we have a network problem. So just wait for him. I don't know. I'm enjoying this. Really, I really, really enjoying this. I'm having to know the story behind the glory. Okay, we just have to wait for him. There's a network problem, which he informed me earlier on before now that there's going to be, I think there's a heavy rain over in this place, the state. So please bear with us. Bear with us. Bear with us. Okay, so it may have to join back again. So I'm just going to do a recap of what you said. And one of the things I got from it is the fact that asking the question why it really has a long as goes a long way in actually understanding how you can actually challenge the norms in the status quo. Funke, thanks for joining. And he said something about risks involved in challenging the norms. When I saw him in Ilorin, generally that side is not really developed. People always say that the grass is greener on the other side. And having to think about it, if Mr. Shogun being in Ilorin, which is not a developed area, was able to establish, okay, is back. Okay. Okay. Being there was able to establish such a thing, and I think it's something that we should learn from and how he began his journey. So just wait for him to join again. So I think it's a little problem. So we just have to wait for you to join. Okay. And these things they have to do with why, like you said, why are you doing the things that you are doing? Why are you challenging the norms? Why do you want it to be unconventional? Because of so many reasons. We have a lot of people who are doing a lot of things, want to become a lot of things for different reasons. And I would say that the most important reason is actually to understand your why, and then it has to be devoid of selfish ambition, and which would result to actually you being an individual of impactation, because that's what life is all about. The fact that you can actually impact people with the fact that you can actually let me add him up again. Juliana Theosi, thanks for joining. So that's just it. So please, if you have a question, we could actually pass it through to me. We put it in the comment section, and then we'll ask Mr. Shogun. So we don't take too much of his time because we're having network problems. So I'm gonna make it very brief so that everyone can actually watch and then learn something about the story and how he started and where he is and how he began. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I'm waiting. I think there's a network problem. Okay. Oh, sorry about this. Okay. Okay. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
yes, yes, I can. Yes.
So you can continue.
Okay, so back then I came across a pastor that said, "Fine, I don't really have much, but then can you work as my personal assistant?" I was like, at first I was very reluctant because I just felt the church settings and all. But then, fortunately for me, I found myself in that office for 6 years.
Wow.
Working as a personal assistant to an assembly pastor for 6 years. For 6 years, yes. And then I just felt like, okay, now, and as a matter of fact, he so much loved me that he doesn't really have much, but single-handedly he sponsored my master's program. Wow. He just said, I don't know, but I'm going to sponsor you. And he single-handedly sponsored it, made it very comfortable for me. He even gave me an official car. You wow. know, I had an official car for about 6 years, a car that I kept. He changed the car for me about twice, he was so much interested in me. That was why I said fortunately for me. And at the same time, I was still getting a salary of about 50,000 naira as at that time. But then I now woke up one day and I was like, wow, it's good here, everything is okay, but then I want to do something differently. And thank God for him being an understanding person. He told me and said, I can help you with prayers and maybe a little bit of finances, but what do you think you really want to do? Because I've seen it all. There was a time I was opportune after getting to Ilorin to work at the MTN call center in Ilorin. And my salary was not up to 40,000 naira. And I was just like, what is all of this? So I sat down, I prayed, and I was led to say, okay, you love to serve humanity. I don't really like to do things primarily because of money, but as long as it is going to affect life and it's going to impact life, you will find me there. I'm that wired. So, but then when I went to him and I said, okay, I'd like to have a school. And he asked me, what kind of school? We have a lot of primary schools here. We have a lot of secondary schools here and all of that. I told him, we have enough of that. But I discovered a lot of young people have problem with going to the university. A lot of people don't actually know there are alternative ways of gaining admission into school except for JAM. But there are other alternative ways without even writing JAM. I'm a testimony of what I am saying. In 2006, I did an A-level program, which is IGMB. I did it in 2006, and after the exam, I passed, and that same year, I got admitted into school after struggling with JAM for about 2-3 years. Wow. And then getting that platform, I just applied ABU, and I applied pharmacy actually, but I was given biochemistry, but because of the frustration and all, I had to go because I was just tired at that point. But then I can't say I've never for one day regretted being a biochemist or studying biochemistry. As it is right now, I did my master's in biochemistry, being a major in toxicology, and then we decided to take it further to the PhD.
Okay, so we have a problem with network now. Okay, I can hear you now. I think it's better. Yeah. Okay, it's better now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
I can hear you. So
okay.
I took it upon myself to say, okay, if a lot of people are struggling, and I'm a testimony of this, why don't I start this thing rather than starting from the primary and the secondary school? I started making inquiries. Okay, how do I get licensed by the Ministry of Education? What do I need to do? What are the steps and all of that? I went to my drawing table. If everybody have been doing this before now, what can I bring to the table that will be different, that can change the game, actually, that can change the game. And I asked myself some questions, some three questions. The questions are, I was like, okay, I can partition it into three actually. I call the first one the innovative questioning. How do I, let's assume this is not even a running system. How will I have done this? I was asking my question. I was challenging the process, like the conventional process we had, on ground. What do people do? And then I discovered a lot of people are just interested in the money, because all of these programs cost a lot of money. If you want to run an ICANN program, it costs a lot of money. If you want to do ATS program, it costs a lot of money. If you want to do IGME program, it costs a lot of money. If you're going to do Jupyter program, it costs a lot of money. Then I said, okay, if everybody are like this, I went around, I met with some students, and some of them will tell you they only have 2 lecture periods in a week. You can imagine. Most of them just roam about the street. Their directors don't even care about them and all of that. Then I was just like, okay, if this is the norm, then how do we change the game? Then I started by assembling a great number of tutors, great number of lecturers, pull them together, tell them, share my vision with them. Okay, this is what I want to do. I really don't have much, but if you can share my vision, then we can get there in the shortest period of time. And then we, based on our own survey analysis, I decided that I am not going to be like every other schools around. I will not be like every other schools around. In my school right now, some of my students will say, Mr. Shegun, no, we've had classes from Mondays to Friday. Our classes are not choking, but then I'll just be like, let me give you value for your money. If not for your value, if not even for your money, let us be part of your success story. And the success will not come until you do some certain things, like studying, like studying very hard, then getting people who are product of these programs, who are now lecturers, to teach you. We don't lecture, we teach them. We create a platform whereby they can feel free to ask anything. Our students don't ask questions, and then they don't get, none of their colleagues make jest of them, because it's part of the rule. You don't make jest of people in class. We discovered a lot of students lose their confidence when they ask questions in class and then they get it wrong and their colleague makes jest of them, and then they are losing that self-confidence. They will not want to ask a second time, But then there are some things we put in place, like I discovered a lot of people don't even care about the health of the students too. Do you understand? I discovered some of them just get some cheap accommodation for their students, and then some of them come down with toilet disease, ladies and all of that. If I tell you how much we are spending on accommodation for our students, you'll be marveled. Why? Because we care about everything that concerns them. We care about everything that concerns them. Everything, the security, the comfortability, like we are so, there's no parent that have come to their children hostel before and complain. Rather, we make sure where we can live, where I can live as a director comfortably. Why can't I get it for my students?
Wow.
I should be able to, everything that will make them focus. It's what we do for them. I discovered so many directors will wait for their students to go and just get their textbooks themselves. We don't do that. We don't wait. We get them for you. We have prep time that you have to sit and study. So we take every aspect of their education with utmost importance, and we leave no stone. We don't leave any stone unturned for them. And over the years, the success has been massive. And by the grace of God, I am not enough to even bear the name that people call me. They call me Asheyori, but it's God that is Asheyori. But because of the testimony that we've recorded over the years, a lot of people come and they tell you, I've done this, And then, we'll just tell them, so if you've tested all of these places, but just let us give you another version, another dimension of how things are meant to be done. And when they come, we do things differently by the grace of God, and then we achieve success. Okay, yeah.
Some few questions now. Some few questions.
All right, please. You're welcome.
I was listening to you. I'm like, wow, a lot of things, a lot of things, a lot of things. So the first question is this: did you ever think that you could become what you actually are now? Like with the fact that you went to a university in the north, do you ever think that you could become this? And what mindset were you having? Like, what was your mindset? Because of for you to have at least fought through all of these things, it meant that there was something that was keeping you alive. And how did you actually skill it?
Okay. To be very candid with you, where I am right now, where I am today, what I'm doing today, I never planned it. That was that's what brought me to that place where I said, if you don't ask the question why, then you will not get some answers. The conventional way is go to school, be a graduate, get a job, suit up in the morning, even if your salary is 20,000, look good, and people say, wow, that guy has a job and all of that. That's the norm. That's the conventional way of doing things in Nigeria. Do you understand? But when you ask yourself the question, why are things like this? How can I, what am I adding to knowledge? What am I adding to humanity? It's all about adding of value. Do you understand? It's all about adding of value. I never thought I would be here or do what I do today. You understand? Because I'm of this school of thought that after graduation, I just want to get a job. Probably they'll give me a very good pay, and then I buy a car, get married, and do some other things. But then when I ask myself the question, why? Being able to, or challenging yourself to want to answer some questions in life will bring you to a place you probably didn't see yourself before. And in sciences, that is what we call serendipity. When you're doing an experiment, and then the conventional way of doing it is, okay, when I had A to B, I'm supposed to get C. But you're in the lab and then you're working, and then you're getting Z, for example. That is serendipity in sciences. Do you understand? That means something that comes up when you least expect, something that you're not even expecting to even surface. Do you understand? When you are doing that particular thing. Do you understand? So that is just a summary of my own story. Why? Because I can call myself a product of serendipity, because I didn't plan it. I didn't plan it, and I didn't even plan it this way at all. I didn't even plan it this way at all. Honestly, trust me.
So the next question is this. You stayed with a pastor for about
So that's just me the summary. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question is, you stayed with a pastor for about 6 years, and I was wondering that, wow, 6 years, that was a lot of years, a whole lot of years, just staying with a theologian pastor. Now the question is this: what can you say about service for young people? What is the role of service? What have you learned about service? And how has it influenced your life in such a way that you'll be able to produce such a thing?
Wow, I have learned a lot of things through service. Through service. A lot of people do things for the gain. But there are some things that you will do, but they always have a long-term effect. As for my case, I served a man of God. I served a man of God. Through service, I learned more about humility. Through service, I learned a lot about not doing things just for the gain. Do you understand? When we do things through service and we look at the long-term goal of that particular service, do you understand? It's usually of great gain. It is usually of great gain. Through service, I know that, God is supreme. Through service. Yes, God is supreme. It made me know that there is nothing I can achieve outside God. God has to be in the center of whatever you do. I got to understand that through service to humanity and to God, which is the ultimate being. Yes.
Wow. Thank you so much, Mr. Shogun. So, I want to make this very short. So, the last question we're going to ask before the last question is here. Before the last question.
Okay. All right.
What were some of the values that kept you straight, that helped you along the way? What are the things that you knew that, okay, this I would never do this. This I think I should do. For you to have come this far, it meant that you had the principles, you had values that were keeping you. And ask, what are the kind of values that actually kept you this far?
Okay. For me, I would say contentment.
Wow.
For me, I'll say contentment.
So my mentor just joined me. So let me just appreciate it. Thanks for joining. That's my mentor. Thanks
oh wow. Wow. Okay. So for me, I'll say contentment because I have a very humble beginning. A very humble beginning. Yes, I have a very humble beginning, and I discovered that if I can stay that strong up to that level, then there's nothing I'm chasing. I was not brought up in a way that at 20 I'm already thinking of a house or something. I'm not saying it's not good, but life is in strata. You understand? Life is in strata. You can't be in step 1 and then you want to jump to step 5. So I've never envied people. It's good to I've never really been a product of envy. I don't really envy people. Once I pray and I ask God, is it the next phase of my life? And if he says yes, then off we go. But if not, because Mr. Miracle, let me tell you about this. A lot of people see me and then they think about the fact that maybe I'm a body or something, or when they see me on my shirt or probably on my tie, and they just say, Mr. Miracle, let me say this for the record. My parents lived in a room and parlor apartment for 21 years.
Wow.
For 21 years. I was close to rounding up my first degree when my parents changed that particular apartment to a 3-bedroom. Do you understand? So if I could be contented with everything, when I was doing my first degree, my dad was on loan and he was giving me 5,000 naira per month. You can imagine. I was a university student. But at that point, instead of having to do some things that some of my friends were doing, I took it upon myself to go to ABU staff quarters, look for some parents that are willing, that I take up their children for after school lessons. And I was getting paid just to support my family. If contentment is key, if you don't jump the gun, you will learn there will be some value that will just be embedded in you. And then you don't struggle. You understand? Whatever you have, you'll be okay with it, and then you don't do things just because people are doing it. You understand? It's still part of not being a conventional person, because people are getting married at, say, maybe 20 something as a guy, or maybe at age 30. You understand? But then you've been, being unconventional. You understand? Then contentment is the key. Is the key. You understand? It's the key.
Wow. That one hits me differently. I don't know. I just had the contentment and it hits me differently because of when I saw you. This is what came to my mind when I saw you the first time. I saw you once. So I asked you that, who's that man? And he said he's the one who manages. And I said he's the one who manages. And I saw the way structured it was, and I thought, wow, this is actually very excellent. For me, I saw excellence in what you did. I just told myself, no, I needed to just do. And then having to tell today that contentment was really helped you through all of this way. It really means a lot. And I think for young people that are watching this, when they will watch this, I believe contentment is actually a key in such a generation as this, because it's very easy for us to actually want to desire people's things, to actually want to actually have all things, because fulfilled is normal. Wow, thank you so much. So the last question is this, Mr. Shogun. Last question is this. Thanks for accepting our invitation. before we let our speakers go, we asked them, you've had experiences. You've had 6 years with a minister. You've had 7 people. You've had experience at dealing with young people. What advice would you give to young people in this generation? What do you think is that pressing thing you want to young people to know at such a time as this?
Okay. Let me speak from my own ministry now. Being an educationist, I want to advise people not to take education for granted. A lot of people, there's a conventional saying that says, how do I put it now? A lot of people will be like, after all, people who don't go to school are richer than those that go to school. It is not a right saying. There is nothing like education. One of the legacy that a parent can give to the children is education. It's just unfortunate the kind of country we find ourselves. But even at that, I'll tell every young person out there not to feel that because you're making some monies right now and then you're leaving education out and then you go about saying, no, once I have my money, I'm going to employ graduates and all. Fine, we've had testimonies of people who are dropouts who employ graduates right now, but I can tell you it's 1 out of 1,000. Do you understand? So please, in whatever anything is, anybody's getting, get wisdom through education. And then primarily prayer is key. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, don't leave God out of your equation at any point in time. Never leave God out of your equation. Thank you very much.
Wow. Please, let's say thank you. Let me see before Mr. Shegun goes. Let me say about 3 thank yous. Thank you right now to our viewers right now. Let's say thanks to Mr. Shegun for these things. And I'm just going to do a quick recap. He says, do not take education for granted. And one of the things he said led him through his life is contentment. I think that's very powerful. So before Mr. Shegun goes, let's say thank you, Mr. Shegun. Before you go, let's say thank you. Let me say 2 thank you. Thank you. Because he's a very busy man. Taking time out to actually be here today. Let's say thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And I'm really inspired by your life. When I saw you, that memory is in my head that wow, thank you so much. That this man is a great man. So please let's say thank you. Okay, 1, I've seen 1, remaining 2. Before Mr. Shegun goes, remaining 2. Remaining 2. I'm waiting for 2. Let me just say 2 please. Let's say thank you. Let's say thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, remaining 1. Before Mr. Shegun goes, please. Anyone, waiting for another one. Oh, thank you. Where's the thank you? Please come. So you can go. I'm waiting for 1 more. You won't go before until we say thank you. I see 1 thank you again. 1 thank you, please now, please. 1 thank you. 1 thank you. I'm waiting. I think maybe Instagram is making it get there slower, so you should come. I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Thank you so much for dropping this white space. Education. And I hope to have you physically very soon. Very soon.
No, it's okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Since we have not gotten thank you. Okay, thank you. Thank you. It's coming. So, okay, we'd now let Mr. Shegun go. Mr. Shegun, thank you very much for accepting the invitation. We're very grateful.
You're always welcome, sir. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, thank you.